Sounds good.
And welcome back to Wrestling Mindset. Today we're here with wrestling legend Bill Welker. Bill, thanks for joining us.
Hey, it's my pleasure. It's been a long experience for me, starting back in 1955 as a third grader. So I've kind of seen every aspect of the sport of wrestling.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, when you reached out to me about doing a show, I said that's a great thing. You got a host of experience and knowledge to share with people. So, yeah, I mean, show us the book. Tell us about the book. It's a book on drilling now. You said, right?
Yes, let me get it here a second.
Perfect.
Can you see it?
Yes, yes. My
Okay.
brother, yeah, my brother's got a copy at his house. Yes.
Okay. Let me tell you about that. I always wanted to write a drill book. I learned a lot from my high school coaches, but I'm a West Virginia teacher, and I didn't have that kind of money to really put a book together. But God willing, I got an email uh, uh, on 2003 in May from what they call an editor who was looking for people to write books for human kinetics, and that's how it all got started. I had to be I did a couple of the chapters, and I had to get great wrestling coaches from across the country. I think you would be familiar with the Perry family. Hugh and Ed, and of course their dad Rex, all three-time national champions. I was so pleased when Ed Perry decided to write a chapter as well. He did such a great job, and I miss him quite a bit. But anyway, the book did so well that we ended up having a second edition, and right now with apps and everything, close to 40,000 copies have been sold, not only in the United States but also in Canada and in Great Britain. And
Wow.
we're kind of, it's a godsend.
Yeah.
It's really blessed. And
Yeah. Absolutely. And the fruit of much hard earned labor and trial and error and expertise. And yeah, I mean, you had to have seen it all by now.
well, like I've written some other books also. I've written a couple of short novels. And the big thing about writing is that you need to edit so much. Editing is so important. I'm sure when you put together your booklets and papers, the big
Please.
part is editing. It really is.
Yeah.
Uh,
You think
you
you're
know,
close to done, but you're not close to done.
well,
That's where the real work comes in.
and no matter how much you edit, somewhere along the line there'll be a typo here or there. It's just, even when you have more eyes looking at it, it's unbelievable. But getting back to wrestling, I've seen a lot of changes, some of them good, some of them I'm concerned about. Maybe you've noticed it, not with big schools or big wrestling schools like St. Ed's or Blair Academy, but in a lot of our smaller schools, we're not seeing full team lineups. And
Right. Forfeits are killer. Yeah.
And the problem, I really believe the problem is this. When I wrestled, we had a robust dual meet schedule. That builds a fan base, number one.
Right.
They're going to come to a 1.5 hour dual meet, but they're not going to travel a few miles and sit there all day waiting for their wrestlers to compete. I think that's what we're losing is the fan base. When you lose the fan base, you also lose competitors because kids want to be where something exciting is happening, where there's a lot of people and what have you. And I
Right.
think we need to get back to more dual meets. At least that's my opinion. They get wrapped up. I know in a lot of cases they uh, they have a tournament schedule, and a lot of them are local tournaments that they go to. So a kid might wrestle another kid 6, 7 times, maybe 8 times during the course of the year. And if the one kid's losing all 8 times, he's getting tired of losing.
Right.
And the other kid, he's not really getting any more experience because he's wrestling the same kids all the time, only in a different local tournament. And I just feel we need to get back more into a dual meet type. You need to still have your tournaments. When we wrestled, we had 14 dual meets and one Christmas tournament, very, very vigorous Christmas tournament with high-powered schools. But I tell you, Gene, I had to run through a gauntlet of fans to get to the mat. It was standing room only.
Yeah.
They even bet on the matches back in my day.
My brother and I were talking about this today. We were talking about just how dual meets, the level of intensity and the excitement is even higher a lot of times than a state or national tournament, because you have it's meaningful, and it's meaningful to all the locals, and everyone knows everyone. Where sometimes you get to the higher level tournament, not everyone knows everyone. It doesn't get as intense sometimes, of course.
Yeah, and they have their quads and triangulars. It's still not the same. You have to have one
No,
school
no.
competing against another school.
Well, yeah,
And to talk about my own wrestling experiences, I keep thanking God for all my blessings. I needed your mindset program
yes,
because a lot of times I was beat before I got into the match
yep.
in my
You and
head.
everyone else. You and everyone else. It's 90% mental. Carrie Colott said it.
There's
95. Yeah.
no doubt about it, man. And I'll be honest with you, this is something that's kind of unusual. There were matches that I was going into, thought I was going to lose, but ended up winning. It's almost like God, Jesus was by my side saying, "Come on, you can do this, Bill." So I really, because I was a technique wrestler, what I lacked, and I'm being totally honest, is you have to have a sort of tough mindedness.
Yeah. Killer instinct, as we call it. You have to be,
Yeah, yeah,
there's something
exactly. And
natural.
I never had that.
Yeah. You got to be
I,
a dog that bites.
and that's why I think your program would have been so beneficial to me. Now my brother, he had it. He was a street fighter, but I wasn't a fighter or a lover. I just it's just that case. But that was one of the things I needed. And when I got the other problem is the dieting. We had no education on how to diet.
No.
There was no nutritionist or what have you, and we did everything wrong. And the concept back and the culture was got to get to your lowest weight. And I think we're getting away from that now. You're gonna. I don't think we see as much dieting as we used to see. At least when I was a state interpreter, we have really pushed for weight management, so the kids don't yo-yo diet or what have you.
Yeah, no, they're doing it, and they're doing it at younger and younger ages, which is more dangerous. When you see a kid who weighs, 58 pounds, and they're dropping 3 pounds to 55, that's a significant weight cut, and it's on the parents.
Yes, I agree 100%, and that's another area I have a concern for. It seems like youth wrestling, they're going all year round too. And again, they might be wrestling the same kids. They might get tired of it by the time they reach junior high school, and that's what I worry about. And you're
Yes.
right about the parents. They have, my goodness, doctors will tell you that's when they're growing. That is when they're growing. You do not want to have them lose any weight whatsoever. And parents, I have to say, shame on you if you're doing that because it's totally wrong.
Yeah, I interviewed Valentin Kalika about this. He was an Olympic coach, and he said those parents should go to jail, and he was dead serious. He made the important point that sexual abuse is not the only type of abuse. All abuse is terrible. Whether it be
Exactly.
sexual, physical, verbal, or with the weight, it's like that is bad. And also, what that kid does to a kid mentally. I mean, you go back to the Gable time. He beat everyone in the room. He didn't think in terms of pound for pound. He beat the heaviest guys on the team. What you're telling
Right.
the kid is, if I have to lose 5 pounds or I'm not good enough, that's not how Ben Askren thinks. That's not Kyle Dake. It's anyone, anywhere, anytime for nothing.
Exactly. And that is the thing. Again, if I had to do over again, I you know, would have not. Because I'll tell you what it did to me when I got to college. I don't want to say I got tired. I got tired of dieting.
Of course.
I actually changed my priorities from wrestling to academics. But I always enjoyed the sport. As a matter of fact, it was funny. After I kind of got away from wrestling, I would go home at times and see an old buddy, and we'd go down into the wrestling room, and I'd fun wrestling again because I wasn't worried about dieting.
Right.
It's just an enjoyment, the takedown and what have you. And then just being on the mat again.
We see it every year. We see it every year in college. I mean, again, we've us having worked with not hundreds, not thousands, but tens and thousands of wrestlers at this point. And we see the transition from high school to college, and they're overwhelmed because it's a higher level academically, it's a higher level athletically. They don't have mommy and daddy to cry to and to structure everything right around them. And then when you add the weight cutting component there, that's such a college coaches. I wish they would. If I could just shout this from the top of a mountain, I would. The number one reason why your kids are losing motivation is because they're trying to cut weight as a freshman, when the reality is they're not that good yet. And that's true for anyone. Even if they were a state champ, they have to get a lot better when they
Oh,
get to
yes.
college. And when you have that extra weight you're carrying, literally that extra weight where you're thinking I have to cut weight on top of just acclimating to all this, it's devastating. I mean, unless a kid is seriously in the hunt to being an All-American or national champ as a freshman,
Right.
which very few are, very, very few. No, even if they're really good ones, they have
Yeah.
no business cutting any kind of weight that year. Really.
Yeah, and like I was talking about, getting back to doing this, we want wrestling to be for all the kids. And yeah, the world-class wrestler today knows so much more wrestling than I did during my day. But I think sometimes we put so much emphasis on them, we forget about the other 90% of kids who can get so much
Yes.
out of wrestling as well.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that's probably what your program's all about, as far as
Yes.
getting them all involved. And again, I'll get back to, I think that to make that happen, you're better off with a dual meet, a robust dual meet schedule. And you get the fans there, the kids will participate, they'll get very involved. You still have your tournaments, but I mean, today I just think, I mean, I look at schedules, I see 7, 8, 9 tournaments, each weekend. Maybe a quadrangular, but again, not the same as a dual meet. That's
Right.
how I look at it.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. Man, crazy. And you also sent that book too about obsessive compulsive disorder. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, because I've had it since I was in actually since I was in grade school. I remember my mother saying, "Billy, you dwell on things too much." And of course, with OCD, that didn't help me as far as the wrestling. It did it and it didn't. The only good thing about OCD is that when you start a project, you won't quit until it's done. And a lot of people who are high achievers actually have OCD, but the benefits don't outweigh the negatives, and it's just something you have to fight with every day. And the key is not thinking about yourself, but thinking about other people and how you can help.
Yeah, we're meant to be relational as being made in the image of God who is triune. God is relation itself. So it's three persons, a triplicity of relations who are relating to one another. So that would mean that being itself is relational. And that's when we look at sin. What is sin? Sin is turning back on self.
Yeah.
When we're created to make the self gift. And I look at the Second Vatican Council, Gaudium et Spes number 24. Man finds himself by making a sincere gift of himself. And the only reason why we know that is because it was revealed to us by the God man, Jesus Christ, who
Yes.
was completely outside of himself and obedient to the point of death. And
Oh,
he revealed to us what man is supposed to be. And he also revealed to us what God is, and that's relation. So to the extent that I give myself, I'm happy and I'm free. And to the extent that I turn back on myself, I lose my freedom. And I'm not really even as I'm less of what I'm supposed to be. So that's any kind of disorder at its most fundamental level is a turning back on self.
yeah. And I do a lot of reading in the New Testament, and the key, I think, to the Old Testament is this: the Old Testament prophesies everything that Jesus did throughout his life. And Jesus had to become human to really love us, to see the emotions that we were going through and the hardships as well as the positive. And I'm most reminded of his 7 different statements when he's on the cross.
Right.
Somebody, if you haven't read them,
Sure.
it's just unbelievable, especially in the pain that he was in. People don't realize when they whipped you back then, they were ripping your skin apart. He probably was, his bones were exposed when he was on the cross. That's how much he loved us.
Right.
That's how much you know, he's willing to take in all. He had to take in all our sins. And
Right.
at one point he said, my God, where are you? And God, in that respect, had to let him go through that pain so that he could be able to help us in terms of our sins and forgive us for our sins. And I can imagine God was crying when he had to have his son do that for our sake, for our sake. God has
Yeah.
love that we can't even comprehend.
Right, right.
And
And you say, well, why in the world would the Father make the Son go through that? But it was sometimes we need these striking examples of love, because how do you communicate? How do you communicate the unfathomable, infinite love of God? But then you see him on the cross, and now the human mind at least has some slight semblance or grasp of what that might look like.
well, and we are Jesus' children because he had to go through that to be part of us, and he loves us so much because of the things he saw us go through after our original sin. And he's basically our high priest for the human beings
Yes.
because he's faced the emotions that we as human beings have to face.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Amen.
And but back to the wrestling. One of the things that concerns me now is this loyalty, especially in the college level. You see some with
Yep.
the portals. Uh, I mean, even the coaches leave. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, you might have one wrestler that wrestled in 4 different colleges his whole career. You can't
Nuts.
tell me he got a good education. You know, we're losing that with these portals. What do you what are your feelings on that?
Yeah, I mean, what does that tell you about loyalty? What does that tell you about how to stick it out in a marriage when the times get tough? It's just, again, you have to look at it too in terms of it all goes back to relationality and the self gift. Is that teaching us to be more relational, or is that teaching us to turn back on self? And I mean, I think that's the fundamental question.
Yep, and the other problem is uh, greed with this NIL, with name, image, and likeness. It's gone down, believe it or not, into the junior high school level.
Right.
And I could just hear a parent say, "You got to win, son. If not, we're going to lose our NIL money."
Right.
You
And
know,
it's true. And it's true. They will lose the NIL money if they don't win. They have to win.
and it's actually I just wrote an article about it. Actually, gone into the youth level. I read an article on youth baseball, and the name of the company is Perfect Game. They're thinking about baseball cards, youth league baseball cards. I think basically it's now getting to the point where a youth league baseball player will get paid like from the World Series and what
Right.
you know. It's just it amazes me. We competed in baseball and football and what have you for the fun of it. Now, now it's money.
Right. These players had off-season jobs. And so when these people make these comparisons to Otani, to Babe Ruth, and these kind of guys, it's like, listen, these guys had other jobs. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if these guys were able, I mean, when you look at what these
Yes,
guys, and when you look at what these guys did while having part-time jobs,
you're right.
if they would have had what the players had nowadays, it's over. It's
No,
over.
it's amazing, but and I think mainly is the loyalty thing. The only loyalty you have anymore is in the stands, the fans.
Right.
They'll stick with their team, and but that's not all the athletes. Don't get me wrong, but I think in some respects it's going in the wrong direction, and again, it has a lot to do with greed. Greed is
Yeah.
probably greed is probably the number one sin because I think greed causes everything.
Right. And that's where we have to be we have to be careful of that always, because we do have that, like, in a sense we do have, I do think our country is the greatest country in the world, and our a lot of our founding principles are extremely noble, and we got to get back to them. But also we have to be aware, like our country is not the church. So the church, even though the country
Right?
does a lot of things right, we are very much built on individualism. And if we push that too far, right, you could virtue, go back to Aristotle. The virtue is the golden mean, which means you could sin by excess, you could sin by defect. You could have too much of something and it's sinful. You could have too little of it and it's sinful. And that's why Christ said, narrow is the way that leads to eternal life, and wide is the path that leads to sin. You look at it like bowling. You could gutter ball it to the right, you could gutter ball it to the left. There's great things about an individualistic country, but there's also, if you push it to its excess, we move away from relationality and we move away from Christ. So it's narrow is the path.
Okay. Hey, and another thing that I see in that, like, with so many divisions now in some states, I see wrestlers qualifying for states with losing records. And in my opinion, a person with a losing record, be it wrestling or a football team, they shouldn't be qualifying for states. Just to tell you what, we went when my brother and I wrestled. It was all one class, and there were over 500 schools. We competed in sectionals, districts, regionals, and states. Could lose nowhere, nowhere. If you were a regional runner-up, you didn't go to states. You were done. You were done. It was, and I was what it was truly a true state championship, and it was like being second in a gunfight. When you lost, you could go home and eat. You know, quite it, quite challenging.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But that's also, we're in the time period of participation trophies. Everyone gets a prize, which there's some good with that too. But yeah, again, you have to balance the golden mean, right? There's
Happy
pros, there's
medium.
cons.
Happy medium. With everything. Are we all greedy in a way? Yes, because we're human beings. But it's like you said, going too far one way or too far the other way, where the problem lies. But
Exactly. Exactly. So
wrestling,
you're good.
wrestling has been, like I said, in terms of things that I learned, it's been so beneficial to me and to my brother. He wrestled for Penn State. I wrestled a little bit for Pitt. Found out I was good, but not great. You know what I mean? Especially Division 1. It's a whole new ball game up there. It really is.
It's hard. It's real hard.
But the things that I learned, the importance of self-reliance, humility,
Mm.
what works, was just unbelievable. And I was so fortunate
Oh yeah.
not only to have great parents, but also great coaches. My two coaches were outstanding. They played the good guy, bad guy approach. The one would give you heck, and the other one would, hey, hang in there.
You need both. You need both. The two wings that make the bird fly, right? You need both. And it's I say it's a very delicate balance, which is why mindset training is extremely important, because you need to be simultaneously two paradoxical things that seem like they're the opposite. You have to be your best friend. No one's got to love you, be more nurturing, more caring, and supporting of you than yourself. And at the same time, you have to be your harshest critic. There's got to be no coach, teacher, parent that's harder on you than yourself. And generally speaking, as humans, one tends to be more their own best friend. One tends to be more their harshest critic. And you have to strike that. It's not even that happy medium. It's like that optimal point. Like when you're having a bad day, you need to swing towards to be your best friend. And then when you're feeling tired, bored, lazy, or peer pressured, the pendulum's got to swing in the other direction. And you got to say, harshest critic, you got to buckle down, get your head out of your rear, that whole thing.
It's funny you say that. I just lost my wife of 56 years, and she was my best friend. She was my biggest supporter and my biggest critic. She knew me better than anybody else. She put me in my place when I needed to be put in my place. So I was
Yeah.
very, very fortunate. I miss her very much.
Yes, yes, we're very sorry for your loss. We'll pray for her soul. And yeah,
Yes.
Coach Lou Holtz, he always said that too. The former Notre Dame coach, he's like, if you want advice, he said, don't ask me, ask your spouse. There's no one who loves you more, wants to see you succeed more, be any more honest with you than your spouse. And he was absolutely right.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. So I'm fighting through that right now, and uh, my prayers to God is that I will be with her and my family when my time comes.
Yes. Yes.
And
So what else do we have going on? Are you doing any appearances, book signings? I mean, it's a great thing. Everything you have here.
right now, kind of my son's involved. He's involved in coaching wrestling at one of our local schools, and my step grandson is doing very well. I'm kind of helping out there in one way or another, keeping score, what have you. And we have a big wrestling tournament. It's called the Ohio Valley Athletic Conference Tournament, OVACs. It's northern West Virginia and eastern Ohio, about 50 schools.
Right.
And I do a lot of writing for them as far as their program now. I
That's great.
officiated for many years, but now I'm involved in like sort of the things in the behind the scenes and enjoy that very much.
And I'm sure they're benefiting tremendously from your your knowledge and expertise. This isn't some, random person here. This is someone who's been there, who's been around the best and beaten the best,
And also made a lot of mistakes. So
as we all have.
yes,
But like you said, if we didn't make those mistakes, we wouldn't need a savior, which we certainly do.
don't believe it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so I mean, where do people find the book? How can people get a hold of you? What do you want the next steps to be? Is there a website? Is there,
They can go if they type in Bill Welker's books on the internet. It'll take you to my novels. Like I say, I've written 4 novels, and they're all about scholastic and collegiate wrestling.
Mm.
I even have one on a girl wrestler, which is they all have surprise endings. And the my problem is I don't have marketing. They were self-published. Not the drill book, not the wrestling drill book. The other ones were. And if anybody's interested in any of my novels, like I said, they can just type in Bill Welker books. But as far as the wrestling drill book, it's on Amazon, uh, Barnes and Noble, uh, Human Kinetics website itself, and eBay. Some people are, selling the used or what have you. Just about everywhere. All you have to do is type in the Wrestling Drill Book by Bill Welker, and it'll take you to many different sites. And what I did that the other drill books haven't done, I added a chapter in that. First, the editor wasn't sure he wanted me to do this, but I added a chapter on how to develop your practices and incorporate the drills in your practices and
It's big.
the things you have to deal with in practice. The preseason, preseason practice compared to in season, and then what to do off season, and how to deal with staleness and stuff like that. Uh, how to develop a competition as far as wrestle off. You know, just the ideas on just about everything you can think of that you need to do in the practice. And they even have one practice where, hey, we're just going to have fun today. We might play Powerball or whatever, and just take a day off from wrestling. Sometimes you have to do that when you feel your team has gotten a little bit, stale. Just staying at a certain level.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I added that chapter, and it seems like a lot of feedback that I get about the book is they like that it helps them organize their wrestling practice. And
Yep.
a lot of coaches, not quite
No,
sure what
right.
to do with that,
It's
especially
not entirely obvious, right?
and that's where I was fortunate. Like I said before, my wrestling coach is very organized, and I mean, just amazing how the practice went. And basically, I took a lot of that and put that in the book. In the book.
That's big. Like I said, it's not, it sounds like, oh yeah, it's, kind of common sense. Well, not really. Try to put together a practice plan and let's see what you come out with. And you're dealing with real human beings, and what does that look like? So that's big that they have that. And I know that there are people now who are paying coaches to be, consultants to help them with these kind of plans. Exactly what you did right there. You served it up to them on a silver platter.
It's right. It's in the book. It shows you preseason practice should look like, in season, and then off season activities that you should be involved in, like cross country running, of course, your weight training program, and things of that nature.
Right. Well, people, they got to get people. You got to get the book. People know what to do with the book. So
Yep.
that's all. That's awesome stuff, Bill. Anything else you wanted to add that we didn't hit on?
Trying to think here. I think we hit on pretty much everything. Again, my biggest concern is keeping all the wrestlers involved in the sport, and I keep coming back to dual meets. And oh, and
Yeah.
okay, I do want to mention something that's probably not going to make a lot of people happy, but I'm going to be truthful. I did
Oh,
we
what
have
you gonna do?
we have all these wrestlers today who are 100 plus win wrestlers. I
Yeah.
did a study. I don't know if you're familiar with Tom Elling, but he wrote a Pennsylvania wrestling handbook, and in that he had a list of all 100 plus winners who have the 100 wins or more. I did a study on it, and less than half of them placed at states. And again, it has a lot to do with they're wrestling the same guys all the time for the local tournaments.
Right.
I don't get me wrong, 100 wins is great, but I see both sides of it.
Yeah. It's got to be on people's radar. That's the like you said. It's got to be on people's radar. It's a valid point. It's great stuff, Bill. Thank you so much for joining us. So we'll
Oh,
keep. Where do we send them again? We send them to the website, just Amazon. Look up your book on Amazon, and that's where they get it.
they can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I think just about everywhere. All they have to do is, if they're interested in reading my novels, and I actually have a publicist who's looking into the possibility of a movie from one of my basically short novels, and they have very interesting endings. Uh, and he's working on that. He was a producer and a screenwriter, and they they're beginning to look for movies that deal with amateur wrestling. So I have that in the works, and you can purchase those books again by, like I say, just type in Bill Welker's books, and it'll show you the different books that I have and where to go to buy them.
Excellent. So I'll make sure I throw that in the show notes, along with anything else that if there's any attachments you want me to send in, I'm very happy to post them up for you. Thank you, Bill. I really appreciate it.
Well, and if anybody would want to get to contact me, they can
Yeah.
contact me by my email if you want to put that on there.
Yes.
And if any questions they have about wrestling, I over the years I've written over 600 articles on wrestling. Of course, the book.
Your
Uh,
machine.
like I say, I wrestled, I coached it, I officiated it. I was the state interpreter in West Virginia for 28 years. I was on the National Rules Committee for 4 years. So I've seen it all. I've seen the good, the bad, and the absurd.
And from multiple perspectives. Like I think when you say that, it just like it rolls off the tongue and people say, oh, okay, yeah, this guy's great. No, you really need to think about that as a competitor, as a successful competitor, as a successful coach, that's a different angle. As an official, that's a different angle. Rule committee, that's another angle. So it's like you look an architect, the orthographic view of the house. You could look at the house from a diagonal, from the top down, from the side. And when you see the house from multiple sides, you have a better understanding of the sport. If we're just coming at it from a wrestler's perspective, you're only getting one view of the house. And then
Right.
you coach, you're getting another view of the house. Well, now what about the ref and the rules committee plus everything else? So it's a big
Well,
deal.
to give you a good example, I don't want to get into detail, but I was a coach, and coaches will take advantage of any situation they possibly can. So I knew that as state interpreter. So I made sure that my rules kind of caused them not to be thinking about doing certain things. And
Right.
at one point, I had you have to look at all the total picture. So as the
Right.
interpreter, having been a coach, I know what the coach's mind is thinking.
Right.
So,
Right.
as because I've been there and my mind thought that way too. So if they're thinking of something a little bit, twisting the rule a little bit, been there,
You got to
done.
know.
Yeah. you can't snow the snowman, they say. You know,
That's right. You're right. You're right.
uh, and the writing, I enjoyed the writing. I actually did a DVD on. I was big on the Pancake series, where you was shooting, the upper body pancake with my double. I had a double leg and single leg, but I had my pancake was my surprise move, and I did a DVD on that. But that you would have to purchase from me, and I do. I have a few copies left of that, and again, they can just email me if you want to put that on your site as far as it. At talk
Yes.
mattalkwv@hotmail.com, and I will contact as soon as they contact me. I will contact them. I am retired and enjoy talking to people about wrestling.
That's awesome, Bill. Really appreciate it. Keep up the great work. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. I
A-
appreciate it very much. And now I got
abs-
to go do some chore. Oh, I talking about my wife, who I miss very much. She made me promise one thing. She said, and she was a great dental assistant. They used to call her Miss Peggy. She was really good with special kids with special needs. Just wonderful with kids. But anyway, she made me promise that I would make sure all the grandkids would get their birthday cards. And great, we have 15 grandkids, 6 great grandkids, and 2 more on the way. And
Wow. Praise God.
I have a
Praise
list
God.
of all their names, their dates, and I know if I miss one, I'm going to hear it from her. Okay, so she, like I say, she was, and she was actually commissioner of our youth league program many, many years ago.
Wow.
And and that probably the only woman commissioner we ever had. She totally by my side when I coached and what have you. But she actually started a Queen of Queens contest with the siblings of the little boys that wrestled in the small fry league at that time.
Yeah.
Made thousands of dollars on it. And very creative. She even made ceramic trophies for one tournament. It's unbelievable. But
Oh, man,
totally
nice.
happy with my wrestling, and totally gave me hell when I deserved it.
Right. Well, back to what we said before. There's no one who loves you more, wants to see you succeed more, be any more honest with you than your spouse. So, yes, we'll absolutely be praying for her, for you, for your family, and keep up the
Thank,
great work, Bill. Thank you very much.
hey, thank you for having me. And like I said, if anybody has any questions whatsoever about anything about wrestling, I will give them a reply. Like I said, I've written over 600 articles, made a lot of friends, made some enemies, saying how I feel about, about certain things. But I'm a firm believer. Sometimes when you tell the truth, you you know one way to acquire enemies is sometimes to tell the truth.
But it plants that seed, and we know ultimately the truth is what sets us free.
You better believe
Yeah.
it. You better believe it. And, Gene, thank you for having
God,
me on. I really appreciate it.
God bless you, Bill. Take care.
You too.
Okay, bye.
Bye.